Hello everyone, my name is Jamin. Thanks so much for visiting my channel. In this video, I have a Dell Vostro 14. Exact model is the 3490. I'm going to take you on a teardown or disassembly tour, show you how to get into the computer and many of the various components you can access once you're inside. So first thing, power down your computer the correct way. Make sure it's off and unplugged from your charger. We're then going to flip your computer over to access your bottom case screws. The screws noted with the red arrows, these screws will actually come out and you can set them off to the side. The screws here with the green arrows, these screws actually stay in the bottom case. You can't actually pull those out. Just keep that in mind when you're going at these screws. After you address all these screws, we're going to flip the computer over. Now we're facing our palm rest, and we're going to take a small flat pry tool. We're going to start here near where those green screws were, and we're going to start in the corner and pry that seam. Right in that seam, pry the palm rest up from the bottom case. If you get stuck somewhere, leave it. Go to the other side, continue in the other direction. Try not to put the pry tool too far in. You could damage some internal components. Just keep it on the edge. Go slow and firm, but careful. And once you pry all that up, we're going to flip the computer back over, and we're going to grab it from this side. Again, these green screws where the screws are still in, that's where we're going to go at it. So we're going to grab it from there, gently try to pry this bottom case off, go up here, all along the left side of my screen, and be very careful to take this side up and not the right side yet. If you do, you're going to break something. So take the left side up, and then when you get this side up, just grab the whole bottom case and slide it to the right a little bit. Your VGA port here, your USB port, this bottom case goes around it, as you can see in your computer. So if you just rip this thing off, you may damage these ports, or at the very least, you'll break that little skinny part of the bottom case. But if you slide the bottom case to the right, then you'll be able to take it off. After removing your bottom case, this is what you're looking at for the inside of your computer. So I'm just going to flip it around. Now, as a general computer repair side note, everyone, when I'm working on a computer in my shop, it's sitting on an anti-static mat. Either that or an anti-static bracelet are great ideas to avoid damaging anything in your computer when you're working on it. If you would like any help with tools or supplies for your project, there'll be a link below in the description. It'll show you many of the tools and supplies that I use in my shop for my repairs. Underneath that link in the description, there will be one more link. It'll have a list of all the replacement and upgrade parts for this specific model computer, just to make it easy for you to find those. Now, before I touch anything in a computer, I always remove or at least unplug my battery. A computer is safest to work on when as little power as possible is running through it. So here's your battery right down here. This is a 42 watt hour battery, 11.4 volts. And the Dell model number or part number for this battery is YRDD6. I will have that information below in the description if you're looking for your own battery replacement. But again, I'll have a battery replacement option in that parts list that I told you about. There's 4 screws holding the battery down, and then the battery plugs in right here by means of this black cable into the motherboard. So after unplugging the battery here, you can take it out a little bit, and then you'll have some wiggle room to grab it here right next to the connector and pull hard to get it out of the battery port. Or if you want to unplug it from the motherboard, you would fold down this black piece of tape over it, and then you would use your fingernails or a pry tool on either side of the white plug, and you would pull that out or wiggle it out of that port to the motherboard. But as goes for all wires and cables in a computer, try your best to not pull on the wires. You could damage them. Just pull close to the plug on each side. And I guess the last thing I can mention about a battery replacement on this computer, if you're here because your computer is not turning on, laptops should still turn on and work with a dead battery if the charger is plugged in and healthy. So if your computer is not turning on even when the charger is plugged in, it may be a different issue than just a dead battery. I will have a video tutorial link below in the description. It'll show you how to troubleshoot a laptop that's not turning on so you can find the actual cause of it. You have 2 SODIMM RAM slots right here, back to back. This computer takes DDR4 RAM. The RAM that was in here was PC4 2666V. an 8 GB stick. I will have all this information below in the description if you guys are looking for your own replacements, but I will also include some replacement and upgrade options below in that parts list link that I told you about earlier. Again, most of you will have a single 8 GB stick stock in this computer. And I believe that this specific model, the 3490, I think that the max RAM for this model is only 16 GB. If any of you think you have information to the contrary, please let me know. But as far as I could tell, the max was 16 GB. So below in the description, in that parts list, I will have a single 8 GB stick if you're just looking for a replacement or if you want to add one. And then I will have another 16 GB kit with two 8 GB sticks in case your single RAM died and you're just looking to max it out. So I will have those two options for you in that parts list. The way that you operate RAM, you'll see there's a spring-loaded metal arm on either side of the RAM stick. You would gently pry those apart from each other, away from the stick. The RAM will then release. Oftentimes, it'll even pop up a little bit, and then you can take it and pull it out of this port right here. To get the RAM back in, you would slide it into the port, make sure it's flat and flush. This gold part here, make sure it's nice and even. And as you can see, there's a long section here and a short section there, so you don't have to worry about plugging the stick in upside down. It can only go in the correct way. Once it's in and it's flush, you just press down in the center and those spring-loaded metal arms will grab onto it and hold it in place. And I guess the last thing to mention about this type of operation, if you're looking to increase your computer's performance, its speed, maxing out your RAM and upgrading your storage are great ways of maximizing your performance and your speed. They're probably the easiest and cheapest ways to do that. As far as storage, you have a single SATA 2.5-inch drive slot here, and you have an M.2 NVMe solid-state drive port right here. So two different places to add some storage. Many of you will have nothing in the solid-state drive port. That'll be empty, and you'll have around a 500 GB hard drive here. So below in the description, I will have a replacement 500 GB hard drive if you're looking to just replace your storage. It's bad. You're looking for the cheapest option. I will also have a solid-state drive replacement for this SATA drive. So you can replace this with a solid-state drive, but it'll be in a 2.5-inch SATA casing. So you can put a solid-state drive in here. They're faster than hard drives. They break less often. It's a really good upgrade idea if you want to do that. So I will also have a 500-ish gigabyte solid-state drive that can fit here, as well as a 1 terabyte solid-state drive option for this SATA port. As far as the M.2 port down here, there's a single screw right down here above the speaker. You would take out that screw, you would plug your solid-state drive, a long one, a 2280. You would plug that in here, hold it down, screw it down to fasten it, very easy. As far as this solid-state drive, I will have a 500 gigabyte option in that list. I'll also have a terabyte option in that list if you want to upgrade. As far as the 2.5 SATA drive, it's a little harder to get it out. You have these 4 screws here near the red arrows, and then it plugs into this SATA connection here. So after you unscrew those 4 screws, get the hard drive in its caddy out of this casing, you can grab this port, unplug it. This plugs in. You can follow this wire down under your battery, and it plugs in right here near this green arrow. After you unscrew the hard drive caddy, there are 2 more screws on each side, this side and this side. You would undo those 4 screws and the hard drive will come out of this metal caddy. The caddy is just designed to keep it in place. So that's how you would upgrade and replace these. That's how you would access both of them. A couple things to shout out about this type of operation. First thing is, if you are replacing a bad hard drive or a bad solid state drive, and there's data on it that you want to recover, there'll be a link below in the description. It'll help you with some data recovery. That can get really expensive at companies, $500 to $1,500 to recover data on a hard drive or solid state drive. I will have some DIY videos below in the description on how you can try to recover your own data at a fraction of that price if you're looking to DIY that. And the last thing I can shout out, If you are replacing or installing a new drive in your computer, you probably need to install an operating system to it when you're done. I will have two video links below in the description. One will show you how to install Windows 10 onto a Dell. The other will show you how to install Windows 11 onto a Dell computer. So you have this speaker on the right side of my screen near the bottom corner, and this speaker on the left side of my screen near the bottom corner. So these are not screwed in. They're just held in by these little orange rubber washers for sound insulation over these posts. So if you want to get these up, you just wiggle them off of those. This speaker, the wire runs down here. It's woven through here, comes to this speaker, and then this speaker plugs into motherboard here. So below in that link I told you about with all the replacement and upgrade parts for this model computer, I will try to have a speaker replacement option in there for you if you're looking for that. As far as getting the speakers out, definitely do not pull on these wires. They are very fragile. You'll see here on your plug, there's two grips on either side. You can use your fingernails or a pry tool to wiggle that out of that port right there on the motherboard. And just a word of caution, these wires down here, they're run just so, and they're woven in through these grips. Make sure that you pause this video or take a picture of your computer or do something so that if you are replacing these speakers, you run them exactly as seen here, because if you don't and you put that bottom case back on, you could pinch those wires and damage them. And I guess the last thing to shout out about a speaker repair like this, if your speakers sound like junk every time the bass kicks in, so it's got that obvious blown sound, then yes, you need to replace your speakers. But if you're just having speaker or audio quality issues where the sound isn't consistent across software, if it's on here, not on there, it could be a system or a driver issue. There will be a video link below in the description that'll show you how to make sure your system and drivers are all up to date. You could possibly fix it that way without having to come in here and do an invasive repair like this. Your Wi-Fi card is up here near the top right corner of my screen, right above your RAM. This card is a Dell part number 0JY0YN. That's the Dell part number. The Intel model number for this is a 9560NGW. I will have that information below in the description if you're looking for your own Wi-Fi card replacement, but I will also have a Wi-Fi card replacement in that link I told you about below in the description with all the replacement and upgrade parts for this model computer. The way that you would work this card is there's a single screw right there. You would undo that, take off this clear plastic guard, and then all you would have left is the antenna wire here. These are just snaps, so they just snap directly up and off of that Wi-Fi card. And to get them back on, they do have to be at a perfect 90-degree angle to snap those back onto that card. You are strong enough to break it or damage it if it's not at the right angle and you force it. So be careful, go slow. It may be a little annoying if you're not used to it, but you will be able to snap those back on. And then you would just pull it out of this port right there. So that's it, fairly simple operation. The last thing I can shout out about this type of operation in a computer, if you are having Wi-Fi issues, if you can't see your networks, if you can't sign into them, it is possible your Wi-Fi card's bad and needs to be replaced, but it's also possible you could be looking at a system or a driver issue. I will have a video below in the description. It'll be a tutorial showing you how to troubleshoot a Wi-Fi issue like that in case you can fix it without having to get in here and do an invasive repair. Here's your CMOS battery down here on the bottom left-hand side of my screen. If you are looking for a replacement CMOS battery, I will have the information below in the description, and I will also have a replacement battery in the description in that link I told you about with all the replacement and upgrade parts for this model computer. The way to get this battery out, as you'll see, it's inside this cradle. There's springs on the top that push that battery down and hold it in place. So what you would do is you would take a small flat pry tool and very gently you would insert it down here and you would push this battery gently back into this area here. So you would press it into that spring so that it can pop up from these two grips right there. Be very careful when doing that. This cradle is kind of fragile, and if you push and pry up too fast, you can snap these two grips on either side down here, or you can snap off this holder up here. Either way, if you do that, the CMOS battery won't be able to stay in there again when you put your replacement in. For those of you who are here not to replace this, but to reset BIOS, you would just remove this battery for 15-20 seconds. That should be more than enough to reset your BIOS systems. Please note, however, that will reset your BIOS system settings, but in most cases that will not reset your BIOS password. I will have more information on that below in the description as well. And as a last thing to shout out, this resetting BIOS, this is a common troubleshooting step if your computer won't turn on. If that's why you're here, and if you're trying to figure out why your computer is not turning on, I will have a video tutorial link below in the description that will show you how to troubleshoot a laptop that's not turning on so you can find the cause. So here's your fan right here. The heatsink goes in between the fan and the vent, and then down over your CPU right here. To remove your fan, you have these two screws, and the fan plugs into the motherboard right here. Now, again, do not pull on these wires, especially. These are very fragile wires. You definitely can pull these out of that plug if you pull too hard. So take the grip on either side of that white plug, use your fingernails or a pry tool, and you'll be able to easily get that out of the motherboard right there. Now, as a side note, I will have a fan replacement option below in that link I told you about, with all the replacement and upgrade parts for this specific model computer if you're looking to replace your fan. If you're here not to replace the fan, but if you're here for an overheating issue, maybe you're trying to reapply thermal paste, you would undo these 4 screws. That would take your heatsink up from off of your CPU, and then you can reapply thermal paste. Now, I will have a video tutorial below in the description. It'll be a link showing you how you can correctly apply thermal paste. You definitely want to clean all the old stuff off. You don't want to put new paste on top of old paste. And you don't want to put too much thermal paste down. If you put too much, it can actually lock heat in rather than facilitate its transport out of the computer. So there will be a video tutorial link showing you how to do that below if you would like it. Also, keep in mind, not all thermal paste is created equal. The cheap stuff is cheap, and the more expensive stuff will do a better job moving heat out. So below in that link with all the tools and supplies for computer repair, I will have a couple different options of thermal paste. One will be on the cheaper, more budget-friendly end. One will be more expensive and will do a better job. But that's the end of this video. That's how you get inside the Dell Vostro. Thanks again so much for watching. Please remember to like and share if this helped you out, if you think it can help someone else out. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoy DIY computer content like this, or if you just want to keep me on hand to answer any of your future computer questions. I do try to answer all questions throughout my channel at least a couple times a day. Also, feel free to check out the related links section below in the description. From time to time, I do try to add things in there that I think will help you with your general computer life, make it more productive, more enjoyable. So thanks again for watching, everyone. I look forward to seeing you on my next video.